Little Violet is one of the most well-known pioneers of the electro swing scene. A piano-playing chanteuse and full band, Little Violet first emerged back in 2012 with the EP Don't Stop. Since then, she's gone on to sign with Freshly Squeezed Music, release her debut album Code Red, and collaborate with some of the biggest names in the genre, including Odd Chap, Jamie Berry, and Pisk. In this interview, we talk about Little Violet's background, her musical and creative journey, and what's coming next. So sit back and enjoy the latest episode of the Electro Swing Podcast with the one and only
Little Violet. Welcome to the Electro Swing Podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Can you just briefly, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, just explain who you are and describe the kind of music that you make, please?
I'm Little Violet. My real name is Cherie, but as Little Violet, I create music which is kind of in the category of electro swing, using jazz vibes. Took a jazz degree, so I'm a good jazz vocalist primarily, but dipping in and out of lots of different genres of music using the jazz core elements. So yeah, adding dance, dirty bass lines, things like that, and a lot of cool drum beats and horn lines. Always the horns. Gotta have the horns.
Code red, need to find the way out of my own head. Nothing safe for me in here. They said that it was for my own protection, but how can I trust my own reflection? Code red, who's coming to my rescue?
It said on your bio that you were, or that you are, a chanteuse and a band. So I always thought the Little Violet was just you, but was it like a band and now it's just you, or is it still a band, or is it a mix of both?
It started off with me and a producer kind of creating these new electro swing vibes. It was like when electro swing just kicked off and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, because I get to do the jazzy stuff with the kind of modern beats. And then we turned into a live band. So it was a 7-piece band, which was incredible. And then further down the line, it became more electro. So in the studio, it was more about creating the music first and then adding the live instruments, because authentically we want it to kind of have that real live instrument sound. But then over the years, when we've done festivals and things, we've kind of, depending on the festival, depending on the gig, we can be a full 7-piece, 10-piece, but then also we can still do it as a trio, for instance, with producer, clarinet, myself, on live drums. So yeah, quartet probably mainly.
Your first EP came out in 2012. What's the story behind that?
So I was working with this producer, Bob. He gave me some like little snippets of just like a little vibe of a song, and I kind of went away and wrote my version of that song on top of these beats, and that became the first EP. Like you say, Don't Stop and Shut Up were the two lead tracks of that. Great stories behind those songs. Anyway, once that EP was released, it's used in a lot of publishing stuff, so it got kind of picked up in lots of like TV programs and adverts and things like that, and then it kind of was just stepping stones from that. Got a band together so we could gig the stuff, and yeah, just grew from there, really.
You said that the two lead songs had interesting stories behind them, and I know that I'm going to kick myself after this interview if I don't go, what were the interesting stories?
So I was in a band, we were called Lazy Baby, and we had a function band with it as well, and we had a lot of drama with our guitarist, like a lot of drama. That we ended up going through like a band divorce. It sounds really dramatic, but it actually was at the time. I'm a people pleaser, and I always have been, so I'll kind of keep the peace and try and like do what everyone wants. And like the inner Cherie, the Little Violet side of me was like, can you just shut up? Like nobody needs to hear this, like this narcissist. So it was really, really good therapy for me to get my true feelings out in a song. From that moment, I think from all my songs are very autobiographical, and I'll just be like, Ollie, this song's about you. Oh, this is about when this happened. Like I'm very honest and very very truthful about it.
Your debut album came out in 2019 with Freshly Squeezed. How did that come about? How did you sign to Freshly, and what was the story behind that album?
Like I said, I met Nick originally back in Brighton for a White Mink Black Cotton gig, and then another festival where I was throwing up, but it wasn't from alcohol. I'd poisoned myself with alcohol rub on the way down. Anyway, so it's probably the second time I'm like, hi Nick, which is great. And so we kind of had a little bit of a relationship like for years, just catching up at festivals and stuff. And then we were looking for a new label, had a conversation, and I think it was like a Zoom call or something with him. And yeah, it just kind of was like a natural progression to be with the #1 Electro Swing label. It was just such a gorgeous transition into joining their family.
So with that album then, what happened? Did you like write it and then approach him and say, we've got this album? Or did you agree to do some stuff with Freshly and then come up with the album?
We signed to Freshly, I think, with an album in mind. But first of all, it was an EP with, I think, Swinging Melodies and something else. Can't remember what, but it might have been Silent Movie. Then COVID hit. So it was during COVID, most of the album got written. I think it was literally just as I was signing the contract for Swinging Melodies that I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh no, am I allowed to be pregnant? Is this okay? And I was really worried. And then I spoke to Nick, and he was just absolutely like so amazingly kind and supportive, and just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, congratulations. And I was like, oh, phew.
You've also done lots of collaborations. I'd like to talk about those kind of individually, if you don't mind. So there's 3 in particular that I'd like to discuss, or people that you've worked with. So the first one is Odd Chap.
Oh, yeah.
So I've worked a lot with Odd Chap, and I know him very well. And he was, I think, the 3rd guest on this podcast.
Oh,
and
lovely.
I asked him the very awkward question of, because his album was called Collaborations and it's working with different people, did he have any standout tracks? Which I knew was a horrible question to ask because it would put him on the spot. And he very diplomatically said that he loved them all and he couldn't possibly choose one, but if he had to, yours would probably be the standout because it was the first one and there was just something special about that track.
So lovely to hear that. And same for me. I blinking love that song. He's just such a nice guy, you know, and like you meet people, he's such a nice guy, but so easy to work with as well, and able to like, you know, have a little bit of back and forth of like, I've got this idea, are you digging it or not? And collaboration, especially when you're working with someone that's the other side of the world, like you need to be honest. You need to be able to share your ideas without feeling like you have to, I don't know, hurts, you know, you're not going to hurt someone's feelings. Do you know what I mean? It's tricky, exactly, because you're not in a room, you can't feel their energy. But luckily with this, like I think he sent me like a few to listen to, and then just, you know, do you feel anything from any of them? And I just loved the darkness in that song. I kind of like I see stories very quickly when I hear a little bit of a track, and I'm like, oh my God, I saw that story. And I was like, yes, I need to write this. And I think I just wrote it all out. He was like, oh, you know, if you just want to write a little like verse and a chorus, and I was just like, blah, blah, blah. Here's the whole song. So it's one of those songs that just wrote itself. And luckily he liked it. We were both on the same page, even though we're other sides of the world.
So you've worked with Jamie Berry as well on a couple of tracks, I think.
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, it was close to my album now, I think, me and Jamie. We did one originally as Sharika, here's my original name. It was the first one. And then we were working on some more, and it was like, yeah, I'm really proud of this. I'd like it to be Little Violet, and Nick loved it too. So we've done a few more since as Jamie Berry and Little Violet, which is lovely. He is actually really local to me. I think we met at a studio in Leeds called The Firm, and we just kind of like both happened to be working on different projects. So I had a little chat, got to know each other a bit, and then he sent me a message being like, would you like to do a collaboration? I'm like, absolutely. And then we've become mates since then, and we've always got a track going on together. Just like there's always something going on behind the scenes, because he's just such a nice guy to work with. I mean, same with Odd Chap, just really, really nice person, but I actually get to see Jamie in real life, which is lovely as well.
Yeah,
so
it's not
you get
a
to have
24-hour flight to go and see him. The last collab that I wanted to ask you about was with Pisk as well, who is the person behind the Swing Rowers. You've done, again, a couple of tracks with him, is that right?
Yeah. And again, working with someone, again, not like from a distance, but being able to have that back and forth and that respect for each other's ideas and different directions of the song, things like that. I love the 2 tracks that I've done with Pisk, but we actually started indirectly. He did a remix of, the track I mentioned, Beats and Swing, the album, sorry, Beats and Swing. So he did a remix of one of those tracks, Charleston Boogie. I think it's called Pisk Swing. And it's so cool. It's such an incredible remix. I love it. So much so that when we perform live, that we do that version more than we do Charleston Boogie, because the Pisk Swing version, it's such a like, gets everybody jumping on the dance floor. It's kind of towards the end of our set, and it's brilliant. I think he's true professional, true artist, and just he's a gentleman as well. Really, really nice guy.
And the last question about career-wise stuff. What's next? What have you got on at the moment, and what can we expect in the near future from you?
I mean, I don't know, which is again how I live my life. I never know what's next. There's a talk of doing something a bit more live band, smoky jazzy vibes. I'm always writing and recording with the Little Violet Boys, Jamie Berry as well. We've got some tracks already in the mix, just waiting on release dates and stuff with that. And yeah, again, like I said, any time that anybody wants to collaborate with me, I'm always open arms. It's such a gorgeous experience to be able to do that.
The next section I wanted to talk about is like the electro swing genre and scene as a whole. I think you're like a really interesting person to ask about this, because you were basically there at the beginning and still are now. So you've had like a long career within the electro swing scene. So you must have seen it change and people come and go quite a lot. So what are your thoughts on the current state of the scene?
I'm not like the most up to date on the current scene of electro swing. I'll dip in and out of all types of music, like I just said. But I'm happy to hear that electro swing it's come out of the kind of the gimmick era of electro swing, where I think a lot of it, to people that weren't into electro swing, they could see electro swing as kind of being a gimmick and being a bit cheesy, or not having enough substance. Whereas I feel like all the producers and the acts of electro swing that have standed the test of time a bit more, they're being a bit more creative and taking on different elements of music, not just feeling like this is what electro swing is. It's this tiny little box, and if you go anywhere out of this box, it's not electro swing. That didn't excite me, So I feel like being able, like I was saying about Freshly Squeezed, letting artists write music and it having those electro swing flavors is more impressive to me than it being just regurgitated. Here's a jazz sample, and then, it not having its own identity and its own story. So I think that's the most exciting thing about electro swing's journey for me, being able to breathe a little bit more and being able to take a few more risks and dip into different genres a bit more.
Yeah. And what do you think the future looks like for the genre?
Just more of what I've just said, really. Just more freedom, more layers, and the musicality of it, just being able to grow a little bit wider as well. Like some of the tracks that me and Jamie were working on, it was kind of like, are we going too much into drum and bass, or too much into dance, or too much into this? And then it's like, don't worry about all that. Let the music be the music. Let's just see where it takes us, rather than feeling like restricted. And then once we had that freedom, the music is so much better.
So let's move on to the quick fire round. What is one thing in your career that you are most proud of, either creatively or commercially?
I'm really proud of Code Red, the album, because that was me writing an album in lockdown, and everyone was going through their own mental health journeys, because it was such a massive thing for everyone. So for those songs to help me in COVID, and then also be able to be out in the world and connecting with people, like people message me and say things like Code Red really resonated with them and has helped them kind of understand themselves more, things like that. So when my stories resonate with other people, that's what it's all about. That's the best thing in the world for me.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges you faced in your career?
Not being a social media person. Like, it's such a content, and that, again, that's not what I'm about. I'm not really I'm not very good at being fake. I'm not very good at just being like, oh, look at me, look at me. It's just, I know that I'm not saying that that's what everybody does. I'm just saying that that's how I felt I had to be. And that's like, I like anxiety for me, because I need to be authentic. I need to be myself, and I just want to write music. I just want to be creative. And it was kind of like, if I have to do this, and without being able to do this, I have to do this I can't do both, basically. And if I didn't do one without the other, then I couldn't be in the game. That was a huge struggle for me to kind of accept. But then once I accepted it and realized, actually, I don't have to do that. And it's like, I'm not going to do that, because I'm not going to put out Instagram content every single day, because I'm never going to do that. Once I took that pressure off myself and just took the tide in my own way, it was just, oh my God, it was a huge relief, and also made me see that for some people it can just be about the music.
How do you feel that has affected things by not being as active on social media? Do you feel like you have suffered as a result, or is it worth the trade-off of not feeling that pressure?
Yeah, it is for me personally, because maybe I'd have a couple more 100,000 followers on Instagram, but I don't really care about that. I care about writing good music and getting good music out there. That's what's important to me. And once you decide what's important to you, sphere of influence, what can I influence, what can I be in control of, what's important to me, life's so much better.
So this is always my favorite question. If you could go back in time to any point in your career and give your younger self a bit of advice, when would it be and what would it be?
I think I would probably say to do more gigs at the start, because I'm a full-time musician. I was doing paid function gigs, let's say, so lots of wedding gigs and stuff with my band, who I'm still with, who are amazing. But I'd miss out on Little Violet opportunities, because it was like, do I get paid and do this gig, or do I go travel 7 hours and do a festival? And then, I had to pay my rent and stuff, so I do a lot more of the weddings and things. Whereas I look back now and I'm like, I wish I'd done more of the festivals and more of the that side of stuff then, when I had the opportunity to, because I've got young kids now, and it's just not as easy for me to do and take those risks.
So what's something outside of music that your fans might be surprised to learn about you?
I'm a huge animal lover, so I'm all nature. I've just rescued a spider today who I thought had hurt his leg, so I was very, very worried. I'm constantly saving bees out of my conservatory. I try and do what I can for the world and the planet. So a lot of my time is spent just trying to be a good person, trying to be as kind of eco-friendly as possible. I'm just a big nature geek. I want to save the planet. I want to if I could, I'd have a house with loads of land and just rescue all the animals and eat off the land, grow my own veggies and stuff. That's the dream. And just write music all day.
Yeah. And then any final words for fans of yours? Anything you'd like to say to your listeners?
Just thank you for finding new music, and keep doing that. Keep finding new music, keep finding new artists, and supporting live music and recording artists, because the music industry, we don't get such a great deal these days in the world. And I think people writing music and putting their time and effort into being creative, I think, is a gift for everybody. It's a gift for the artist, but it's a gift for the listener as well. So I just think helping each other out, supporting each other, and appreciating each other is so important. And I think it's really, really nice. It's so easy to have a negative thing to say about somebody, whether it's their music or whatever. But kindness and appreciation for things goes a long way. So I just think keep sharing the love with each other, and if you like a piece of music, let them know, because it means a lot to the artist who spent a lot of time on it.
And then finally, do you have anything coming up that you would like to promote or plug or shout out?
Just keep your eyes and ears out for new music. We've got a track with Jamie Berry, should hopefully be coming out soon. I think it may be early spring, and then some other bits and bobs which haven't got dates for yet. But just keep your eyes and ears out, because I'm always writing, so there's always something going on.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Cherie, aka Little Violet. It's been a real pleasure to chat and to get to meet you, and I wish you all the best with those upcoming releases.
Thank you so much. And you too. Thank you for chatting with me today. I hope I haven't been too strange.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you. All right, wicked. So that was the latest episode of the Electro Swing Podcast, brought to you by Electro Swing Thing and hosted by me, Offbeat. If you want to find out more about our guest, links to their music and socials can be found in the description. And thank you very much for tuning in.